Hello and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Is Ben Armstrong right? Did Brad Garlinghouse just let slip that the US banks are adopting XRP? Okay, so got another one here for you guys, and I thought I would just add my 2 cents as always because I did find this to be an interesting video. I'm kind of in the middle with this one, if I'll be honest with you. There's certain points I've heard that I seem to agree with, and there's certain points I don't really agree with. So as always, I've got the main points that I want to address here. I'm going to tell you the things that I agree with, the things that I don't agree with, and the reasons as to why for both. Okay, so before we get started, I'm not going to get too much into bitboy Ben Armstrong. For you guys who are regularly watching my channel, you will know who he is, plus he is a massive influencer, so I'm sure you guys have heard of him already. But yes, he is a crypto influencer, one of the biggest crypto influencers out there. So he has made this video addressing an interview that Brad Garlinghouse did with Fox Business News. So let's get into it. The first thing he's talking about here is how Ripple seemed to have basically changed their business model, because back in the day, Ripple had it a thing where if you was to use RippleNet, you didn't necessarily have to use XRP. Why is this? Well, RippleNet is basically a messaging software, right? Same way you've got Swift being a messaging software, it's a telecommunication software, right? RippleNet is basically their equivalent of that. So that's not necessarily utilizing XRP. Now you can utilize XRP if you want to, but it was by choice. So naturally you may have the banks and institutions and companies like that, people like that, who are obviously just more used to just using currency and stuff like that. They may not be crypto savvy or maybe just crypto skeptical. So they weren't obviously using XRP at the time. Now, Ben's basically talking about how Ripple have actually changed that. They've changed their ODL business practice. ODL is actually now Ripple Payments. I'll just say ODL as well for some people who are not aware of the change. But basically what's actually happened now, and this is what Ben had said in a previous video, is that they've actually made it so that if you are now using RippleNet, you actually have to use XRP. Now, I'm not sure about this to be factually true because I've looked around and I've not been able to find anything that confirms this. But if Ben is correct, I think it makes sense, to be completely honest, because when you think about it, at the end of the day, yes, this could make you lose some customers, because some customers may say, well, I'm not here to use crypto, I'm not here to use XRP, I just want to stick to using the actual software technology, and I don't want to have any kind of interaction with the crypto or anything like that. I understand that, but I think sometimes you might have to just look bigger picture. Overall, I think this is a thing where if you're confident in your product and you're confident in the crypto that you obviously are the steward of, being XRP, then at the end of the day, it should be a thing where once the institutions actually use it, they could be converted, right? So even if they were skeptics at the beginning, it could be a thing where, okay, they start using XRP because they have to use RippleNet, and they say, actually, you know what? This is pretty good. I actually like this, right? And I'm going to stick with it. Now, yeah, they may lose some customers from this, but I think overall it's going to aid to greater adoption for XRP, which is what they're going to want, because that's going to greatly aid their business, because this is the crypto that they are using at the heart of their business, right? So I think overall it would probably be a net plus. So I think at the end of the day, sometimes you do have to make sacrifices. So I can't confirm if this is true, but I would think that that would make sense if that was the case. I would think that would be a wise business move in my opinion. Now, the thing that he was talking about in regards to this, and this is where I did get a little bit confused, because he was saying about in regards to changing their business practice. This is where I was confused, because in the previous video, he was talking in the sense of what I've just said, in regards to them making RippleNet a thing where you now have to use XRP if you're using RippleNet, right? But this is something that he said in this video, and this is where I was a bit confused. I'm not sure if it's me not quite grasping it or if he just didn't quite articulate himself well enough. But he said, the way it's done now in terms of Ripple changing their business practice is that you will now have to settle in XRP. But then he also later said you'd have to hold XRP. So this is my thing with this. If it's in regards to you having to settle in XRP, I'd be a bit confused about that business move, to be honest, because why would you want to just settle in XRP it kind of takes away the whole use case of what XRP does, right? Because the whole point of XRP is it being a bridge asset to be able to convert currencies. Yeah, so you've got a currency in one country, you transfer it to another country, XRP is the bridge between these two currencies, and it converts it from the one currency to the other currency. So if it's now a thing where banks are actually having to hold XRP, why would they want to do that? Because first and foremost, you're talking about a cryptocurrency that they're holding over now a native fiat currency. And don't get me wrong, fiat currencies do fluctuate as well, but cryptocurrencies are massively more volatile than fiat currency, right? There's way less liquidity in cryptocurrencies, which is why they are so volatile in the first place. And we've seen how the price swings can be for XRP. So I can't really figure out why banks would want to settle in XRP and just hold XRP rather than converting to their native fiat currency. That wouldn't really make sense to me if that was the case. So I'm not sure if that's what he was getting at, or if he was just talking about banks actually having to hold XRP now to utilize the ODL/Ripple payments service. I'm really not sure exactly which one he was referring to. If you ask me, I think it's more likely that he's going to be referring to the latter. I would think it's more likely that he's saying that banks will have to hold XRP to utilize ODL and Ripple payments, because that would make the most business sense. I can't imagine banks wanting to just hold XRP and just settle in XRP, because at the end of the day, as I was saying, the whole point of XRP is it being the bridge currency. It's about actually being able to convert other currencies. That's what it's being utilized for. It's not really meant to be used as just the actual currency itself that you just hold. So it would actually take away from its actual main utility if that was the case. So I'd be more inclined to think that he would be talking about just holding XRP over actually now settling in XRP. Okay, so now let's get to the matter at hand here. So we've got why he thinks that the US banks are now adopting XRP. Ben is basically saying that Brad Garlinghouse said in an interview with Fox Business News that due to the victory over the SEC in the lawsuit, that they now have a much greater chance of US banks adopting XRP and working with Ripple. Now, from this, he was basically saying that behind the scenes, we know that banks have adopted XRP. We know that there's things that have gone on under the table, that kind of thing. And he was basically saying that this was him letting slip that US banks are adopting XRP and are now going to be using XRP. He's basically saying that we're just waiting to see it all unfold now at this point. I'm not really so sure I agree with this. Now, the thing that I will say, Ben is a massive crypto influencer, one of the biggest influencers out there in regards to crypto. So there's definitely inside information that he could be privy to that I'm not. So I'm not going to completely say this is false. All I'm saying is at this point for me, unless I see Ripple specifically talking about it, or, you know, Brad, David Schwartz, etc., I'm just not taking anything like this at face value. I'm just not prepared to do it, because I've just heard way too many stories in the past that have just turned out to be complete fabrication. So unless I see anything that's concrete to give me a real sense of validity to what's being said, I'm just not going to accept that. Now, I will just say this just to add to more reasons as to why I'm saying this as well. I've got an article here. I'm not going to go through the article, but I'm just going to show you the title. Experts raise concerns as Ripple president provides vague response about XRP adoption post-lawsuit. So I'm not going to get into the article. I've gave this a quick glance over. I'll just tell you exactly what it's about. Monica Long, who is the president of Ripple, and they're basically asking her how Ripple have done since the lawsuit, right? How has XRP been in regards to adoption? And she gives this really political answer where she kind of evades the question. She doesn't really answer the question, which, let's be honest, if the answer was yes, you would just say yes, right? Like, if it's been great and you say, oh yeah, you know, we've had all these banks now jumping over to us, we've made all these new partnerships since the lawsuit, you would just say that, right? Now, I know some people are probably going to say stuff like NDAs and all that kind of stuff. I'm not personally buying that, because at the end of the day, we know that, for example, the Bank of America have worked with Ripple. We know that there are big banks who have worked with Ripple. We know that there are banks already currently working with Ripple. Like, I think it's like over 300 partnerships they have. And these are all public knowledge. So I don't really see any reason as to why they wouldn't just tell us this. Like, we know, for example, when we hear that the central banks are working with Ripple to look at CBDCs. So why would they be hiding this information? Do you see what I'm saying? It's like people are being selective with what they think's being hidden and what's being known as public knowledge. So to me, I think realistically, the fact that this answer was so vague does tell me that it doesn't seem like the actual adoption since the lawsuit hasn't been great. Now, I'll be completely honest. I'm not that surprised about this, and I'll tell you why. When we look at what the decision was of the lawsuit, yes, we did get legal clarity, but it was more for the retail speculators rather than institutional adoption, because the institutional sales were actually deemed securities, right? And so that part of the lawsuit is still ongoing. So to be completely honest, while we can say us as retail speculators have regulatory clarity, from an institutional perspective, it's not quite so clear yet, and the lawsuit isn't over. So I'm not that surprised about that, to be honest. I think once the actual lawsuit is over, that's probably going to have a much bigger impact. I think there's still that stigma there that the lawsuit is still ongoing, and the fact that it was actually deemed that the institutional sales were deemed as securities, I think that's just put a bit of a smear on them at the moment. And I think once they get that hashed out, that will probably be when things will be a lot clearer and a lot easier for them. Now, I have got this other article just in the interest of being fair and trying to show you objectivity here. We got Ripple CEO says clarity opens up the US market for XRP. So I'm assuming this is probably from the interview that Ben is referring to here. Now, the other thing that I just want to say in regards to this, when he said this, if we just read it as a matter of fact, right? Let's just read exactly what it says here. Ripple CEO says clarity opens up the US market for XRP. He never said we've made like major strides since the lawsuit, or we've now got, you know, amazing banks who are working with us or anything like that. They just said it opens up the opportunity. And so this is where, again, I think people like jump at certain things and think stuff are being said in absolutes or whatever. To me, there's nothing here that makes me think, oh, this is absolutely great. This means the banks are going to work with Ripple now. It's just saying that it opens up the opportunity. So it just means at this point, there's way more opportunity for them to get more banks to work with them than there was before, because obviously the lawsuit was over them, which obviously made things difficult, made them scared to want to work with them for potential legal issues, right? So when we just read that for exactly what it is, Brad hasn't really said anything, to be honest. He's just basically saying the opportunity is now there, which, don't get me wrong, I do think there will be banks that will want to work with them in the end. I'm not saying that that's not true, but what I'm saying is when Ben said in this video, like there's been closed deals behind closed doors and stuff like that, obviously I've got no proof to say that one way or the other. Ben is talking about that. Now, as I said before, if Ben has private information that, you know, secret information that we're not privy to, okay, fair enough. I'm just not taking that at face value personally. So until I see anything that tells me this is, you know, an absolute fact, I'm just not willing to accept that personally. That's just me. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion on whatever they believe. That's fine. But for me, when I'm seeing this, it doesn't clarify anything for me. And as I say, we've got that other article where you've got the president being asked, how has the adoption been since? And it doesn't really seem like she had an answer for that, which to me basically means it's not been great, right? It's not really been much changed. So as I say, I'm not really surprised about that in all honesty. But I do think we have to just accept the reality of it, right? I do think we just have to accept that right now Ripple have their work cut out for them from here to make banks want to work and use XRP. So all in all, there's certain parts I agree with this and there's certain parts I don't agree with. And another thing that he started to mention was how, like, you know, when the banks start using XRP and all that kind of stuff, you know, that's when we're going to start seeing price appreciation. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't really think that's anything prolific. I think at the end of the day, we all know that banks utilizing XRP is going to help with XRP's price ultimately. Now, it's not because of supply and demand, because utilizing ODL/Ripple payments is not what actually helps with supply and demand. It doesn't actually change anything, to be honest. And I think that's why a lot of people get confused with XRP. But I do think it will help in terms of making XRP look like a valuable asset. So I think it will help indirectly. Now, I'm not going to get too much into that because that's a whole nother video for me to explain, but I'm happy to go into that a bit deeper because I know a lot of people get that misconstrued. But at the end of the day, yes, ultimately, when banks are using it and people are seeing XRP in the mainstream media and everybody's talking about it, there's going to be things like FOMO and stuff like that. It's being utilized in other places. It's getting that recognition, people getting interested, thinking, what's this about? Maybe wanting to test it out for themselves. All that kind of stuff. That will obviously ultimately help with price in the long term. So to me, that's a bit of a no-brainer answer. To be honest with you, I think we all know that's going to help with price. But yes, overall, certain aspects of this I agree with. Certain parts I'm not so sure I agree with. But it was a good video nonetheless. Obviously, if you guys want to check it out, feel free to. It's on Ben Armstrong's channel. Overall, I'll be interested to see where things go, but I'm not so convinced that this means that US banks are adopting XRP at this stage. I think there is still a way to go, and I think that's why we didn't see the amazing price action that we thought we would see after the lawsuit. Don't get me wrong, the price action did go up, so let's not act like that didn't happen. So I think a lot of people who thought it would happen were correct. It's just that it wasn't able to maintain the value. And I think that's where now it's like they've got to dust themselves off and start building, right? Because they've been held back for 3 years. And that's just the truth of the matter. Like, they've been held back and they've had their actual potential adoption stifled because of the lawsuit. So I do understand that. But I think at this point now, this is where Ripple have got their work cut out for them, because they have to start building XRP and Ripple back up, and they have to start making up these partnerships again. So let's see where things go. But very interesting video nonetheless. But what do you guys think? US banks adopting XRP. Do you agree with this? Have you seen the video by Ben? Is there any specific points that I've made or Ben has made that you agree with? Do you think this is going to be good for XRP's price overall? Or do you not agree with this? Is there anything in this video that you've heard by me or Ben that you don't agree with? Or do you just not think this is going to be good for XRP's price overall long term? Let me know your thoughts, guys. I'd be interested to hear. Thank you very much for watching this. If you did like it, please remember to drop a comment, like, and subscribe. But until next time, take care.